All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a question that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's becoming our reality, and fast. The question is, who owns your thoughts? And maybe even more important, who should get to own them? Okay, let's start with something super relatable. You've been there, right? You're just browsing a website, you click a few things, and suddenly, bam, you're signed up for some newsletter you never wanted. Or worse, you're stuck in a subscription that is just impossible to cancel. That feeling of being totally tricked? Well, guess what? That frustration, it's not your fault. Not at all. It's actually a deliberate strategy. We're talking about something called tricked by design, and it is literally engineered to work against you. And this whole strategy revolves around something called a dark pattern. Now, a dark pattern is basically a user interface that's been specifically, carefully crafted to fool you. And let's be clear, this isn't just bad design. Oh no, this is deceptive design. It's all about pushing you to make choices that help the company, not you. I guarantee you've run into these out in the wild. There's the Roach Motel, so easy to get in, but try getting out? Good luck. Then you've got confirm shaming. That's when a site tries to guilt you with messages like, no thanks, I don't want to save 10%. And of course, there's privacy zuckering. And yep, it's named after exactly who you think it is, which tricks you into sharing way more personal info than you ever planned to. But look, as annoying and manipulative as these online tricks are, they're really just the tip of the iceberg. This is where things get serious. Because the battleground, it's shifting. It's moving from the screen in your hand to the thoughts inside your head. The next frontier, it's your brain. So just think about that for a second. Imagine taking all those same deceptive tricks, all those dark patterns, but instead of applying them to a website, you apply them directly to your mind. What happens when the user interface is your brain? And that brings us to the wild world of neurotechnology. We're talking about devices that can literally read and maybe even change the activity in your brain. You might have heard of them as brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs. And believe me, this is way beyond just controlling a computer mouse with your thoughts. This is a direct, two-way street into your mind. And this isn't some far-off future tech. It is accelerating like crazy. Right now, military and research groups like DARPA are working on BCIs that would let a single person control a whole swarm of drones just by thinking, or interact directly with an AI. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. If you can connect to a brain, you can also hack it. This, of course, opens the door to some pretty terrifying new threats. On one hand, you have brain hacking. Think of it like digital mind reading, someone stealing your thoughts, your memories. But then it gets even darker. Brainjacking. This is a full-on hostile takeover. We're talking about a hacker maliciously getting in there to mess with your movements, manipulate your emotions, or even inflict pain. Okay, so the stakes here are obviously incredibly high. And because of that, a new movement is starting to form, trying to set some ground rules before this all gets out of hand. They're basically drawing a line in the sand. This whole movement is really summed up in something called the Cognitive Sovereignty Protocol. And its core belief is, well, it's really powerful. It says the human mind is not a resource. It is not a data set. It is not a property to be scanned, sold, or influenced. I mean, that's basically a declaration of independence for our own minds, right? So what this protocol is really trying to do is establish a fundamental principle that your inner world, your thoughts, your intentions, your very identity belongs in a protected, private space. The whole point is to lock in our right to mental privacy before the tech that could completely shatter it goes mainstream. So, how exactly does this protocol plan to build that protection? Well, it all comes down to a foundation of 6 core principles. Let's break them down. All right, so the protocol is basically built on these 6 pillars. First up, sovereignty of thought. Simple, your mind is private by default, period. Second, consent as a conscious act. Anyone who wants access needs your explicit, fully informed consent, and you can take it back whenever you want. That leads to number 3, revocable freedom. You always have the protected right to say no, with no punishment. Fourth is your private internal space, keeping your identity and imagination safe and sound. Fifth, any intervention has to be proportional, only for urgent safety, and it's gotta be reversible. And maybe the most important one, number 6, life-preserving autonomy. No tech enhancement can ever be allowed to override your independence. And this really brings us to the core conflict, the big question at the heart of this whole debate. It's really a clash between 2 totally different visions for our future. Is our mind a sovereign, independent thing? Or is it just another piece of software? On one side, you have the human rights angle, the one we see in the Cognitive Sovereignty Protocol. It puts it pretty plainly. The human mind is a sovereign domain. Consent is the only gateway. This view basically treats our inner world as something sacred, something untouchable. But then you have the other side. This is the commercial, tech-driven view. And a manifesto from a company called Tahru NeuroLabs sums it up perfectly. They say, stop running 21st century challenges on Stone Age emotional hardware. Upgrade your human operating system. From this perspective, the mind isn't sacred. It's a system that needs to be optimized, debugged, and upgraded, just like your phone. So, while this massive, high-stakes debate is happening, where are the regulators? Well, they're pretty much playing catch-up. The European Union, for example, is starting to go after these dark patterns, but the legal rules are all over the place. And that's the problem, isn't it? The law just can't move as fast as technology does. So you put it all together, the deceptive designs, the mind-bending neurotechnology, this huge philosophical divide, and it all leads us right back to what might just be the defining question of our era. So who owns your thoughts? Really? We are standing at this incredible crossroads, and the answer that we all choose, it's going to decide everything. It will determine whether our minds stay as this final sanctuary of freedom, or if they become the next final frontier for exploitation. That choice is coming, and it's coming fast. What are we going to decide?